5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and transition. Welcome to the 97th episode of the Korea podcast. I'm your host, Jack, located here in South Korea, Ulsan. Today is the 4th, I believe, 4th of January. The Korea podcast is a podcast that deals with anything and everything related to living and working in South Korea, starting businesses in South Korea, if that is your prerogative. If you are living in South Korea and are interested in starting your own language school here in South Korea, then make sure to contact me. Shane English Korea is the official sponsor for the podcast. That is our Hagwon. My wife and I operate it together. If you're interested in working together with us, we've been in operation for the past nearly 5 years in South Korea. We've got 2 schools. One is ours, one is a franchise that opened up a year ago, just doing fabulastic. And so you can contact us for that. Today, Happy New Year, I guess, despite the fact that this podcast topic is quite morbid, as I mentioned. Oh my goodness, the microphone was off? No? Hopefully not. Oh no, okay, good. Oh, okay. It is the 4th of January, and as the post stated, the topic of the podcast is quite morbid, but I hope that despite that, everyone's had a decent slide into the new year. My apologies for being late. There was a slight delay. I had to update the streaming software, which occurred suddenly. I wasn't aware of it, and so it took a little while for things to settle and be updated. Today's podcast is about something that occurred just recently, or at least the most case of it. And so before I go on to talk about the events and the topic, Ashton Rip, what's up, bro? What's up? Ashton, how are you doing? I would like to say that this podcast is in no way intended to shed bad light on Korea and society as a whole. The topic is child abuse of today's podcast. And so, like I said, it's not intended to shed bad light on the Korean society as a whole, because, I mean, these things happen all across the world. But it does happen in Korea as well, and I mean, it shouldn't happen anywhere, but this is the Korea podcast, so we talk about things that happen in Korea. So how do I begin? This is not a light topic to address by any means. So I guess we'll just start at the beginning. Just today, for me personally, I don't know how long this has been on the news media, on the media outlets, but it's been circulating, making its rounds around the social groups today. And it is a case of a 16 months old baby that was essentially killed by its stepmother. By her stepmother due to excessive physical abuse. I mean, there is no excessive physical abuse. Korea Boo reports unanswered questions infuriates viewers with its most traumatizing episode yet about a Korean baby's death. Jungin. Last year, on October 13th, 2020, the Seoul Yongchon police officer arrested 2 adoptive parents identified as Jung and An for causing the death of their daughter Jungin. After brushing off 3 separate attempts to report suspicions of child abuse, the police finally came around only after Jungin had lost her life at the hospital. So this little girl was adopted, and I guess this is a picture from that was during her time in the orphanage prior to adoption. She looks like a happy little girl. So this incident took place in October, and it's just being reported now, from what I understand. Earlier in the investigation, both Zhang and An denied the allegations and insisted they have nothing to do with the death of Zheng-in. The police, however, announced that Zhang has filmed over 800 videos of herself physically and mentally abusing Zheng-in. Zheng-in is the little girl. They also shared that an autopsy revealed Zheng-in's cause of death to be damages to the abdomen by an external force. I can't. I read the article and I froze. I stopped reading halfway through because further on there are explanations of how what may have caused the brutal damages that this baby suffered. When the investigation confirmed that the mother Zhang had brutally abused the 16-month-old Zheng-in, Koreans became furious at the news, especially because this family had even appeared on a TV show together, pretending to be a wholesome, loving family. So I guess this is the dad and the mother, and this is the adoptive baby Zheng-in. And I assume from the picture, since the second child's face is blurred out, that I assume that is their biological daughter. These are I guess sequentially pictures of the baby prior to adoption, right after, and then at the end. This is the picture that is taken from this family photo here, if you want to call it that. And obviously the changes on the girl's face are drastic. I'm just going to skip through most of it. I wanted to show the article explains. I will copy and paste the article and post it in the chat section. And basically, the article goes over certain things that the SBS TV show showed. They were trying to explain the impact, the force with which the baby was being abused, and they applied different methods, like having a professional athlete, taekwondo player, kick a mannequin with a certain force, and another professional boxer who punched with a certain force. And both of these, a professional taekwondo athlete and a professional boxer's hits, were basically the damage that was caused to the baby was like in the mid-range of these two. This basically shows what the stepmother would have had to do to the baby to cause the damage that she did. Basically jump on the baby off the couch. And I stopped reading there because I seriously couldn't stomach it. So this is reported by the Korea Boo. It's also reported by the Korea Times. My computer is being slow because it's being overloaded with the amount of data that it's processing. The Korea Times also reports on public anger intensifies over fatal child abuse. So Korea Times reports on it as well. And there's also, yeah, Ashton, that is morbid. That is morbid. Not precisely the best way to start a New Year's, I think, but Koreans, what is this? Entertainment news, Manila Bulletin. So this is, I guess, a Philippine-based newspaper. Korean starts outraged after 16-month-old baby dies of suspected abuse by adoptive parents. Another article that's posted by the Korea Herald. Woman arrested for allegedly abusing adopted baby to death. This is posted November 11th, 2020. Seoul court on Wednesday approved pre-trial detention of a mother suspected of abusing her adopted 16-month-old baby to death. The Seoul Southern District Court issued the warrant to detain the woman whose identity has been withheld on charges of child abuse, resulting in death, citing the risk that she may try to flee or tamper with evidence. It is worth noting that the police have been contacted, and I don't remember which article it is, but the police have been contacted, proper authorities have been contacted by, on 3 occasions by the people responsible for the child, so the caregivers in kindergartens. And all 3 times the police ignored it or brushed it off in one way or another. Whatever the case may have been, if the parents were basically denying it, I'm not sure, but that's basically what happened. And yeah, until the baby was basically taken to hospital and died in the hospital. A young South Korean couple recently became the target of much public anger. The 18-year-old mother. Okay, so this is all right. So that's one case. The case of Jung-in is the most recent case, but and police brushed it off, and basically led to the death of an 16-year-old adopted baby. This is not an isolated case in Korea. This happened again and again and again, and it just like the entire thing of the police not really doing enough when it comes to child abuse cases or sexual abuse or rape here in South Korea. It's come up again and again. This is not the first time, and most likely not the last time, but it does come up quite a bit. Another case this is another case. Anger mounts in South Korea over a young couple who left baby to die at home. So there was this couple in, I guess, 2019 June. That's when this was reported. A young South Korean couple recently became the target of much public anger. These 2 young people, the 18-year-old mother and a 21-year-old father, surnamed Cho, had huge falling out on the night of May 23rd. Both of them walked out of the apartment. Neither of them returned to check on their daughter, as they assumed that their partner would go home to take care of her. During this time, the mother posted photos of herself drinking every day from May 25th to May 31st on her social media accounts. She also bragged about drinking with friends while eating barbecued pork in one of her posts. And I assume this could almost be explained as stupid teenage behavior, right? Young people doing dumb shit, thinking that they're gonna make the other person jealous by having so much fun, even though they had a fight, I guess, and whatever happened, but they kind of failed to keep in mind that they had a baby in the house that apparently they left for a week, after which the baby died from starvation. That's case number 2. The third thing, so this is more infuriating, I guess. The sentences commuted for South Korean couple charged in baby's death. So the couple, now a year later, the 2 defendants, a 22-year-old husband and 19-year-old wife, were accused of letting their daughter die from neglect. Their sentences were commuted. Yonhap and News is reported. The husband's initial 20-year sentence was reduced to 10 years on Thursday. His wife's sentence was also reduced to 7 years, according to reports. The defendant's sentences were commuted according to the 13th Division of Seoul High Court because it was difficult to view the crime committed as cruel. And I guess cruelty would, I would imagine, have something to do with beating and physical abuse rather than neglect. Neglect apparently is not seen as cruel under this provision, which is sickening because it's abandonment. Actually, I found a very interesting video and I posted a link below this video. It's a link to a YouTube content. I think it was on the radio, and it's Korean Law 101 or Korean Law 101, and it's pertaining particularly to child abuse. And I recommend going to see. It's a short video. It's about 11 minutes long, and it basically summarizes or explains what the Korean laws pertaining to child abuse are, and neglect is seen as is one of the things that is considered as child abuse. There are two different laws that fall under which these cases might fall under. One is the federal law, and the other one is the child protection law. So if the federal law doesn't come through, then there is also the child protection law, which can take care of these such things. So this is case number 3, basically. So these two people who left their baby to die from hunger, starvation, have basically had their sentences reduced. This is almost comical. It's a tragic comedy. A Korean couple let a baby die while they played a video game. This was reported in 2014. So this goes way back. Children die every day, and it's seldom front page news. This article is kind of interesting in the sense that it draws parallels to the death of children worldwide, particularly Palestinian children being killed by Israel in the current conflict has produced the yada yada effect in a lot of readers and watchers of the news, insinuating that there's so much of it on the news that people don't really pay attention to it anymore so much yet. Isolated incidents like this one draw people's attention. I guess maybe this happens, when things like that happen in war-stricken zones, it's a very different perception versus people looking at a country like Korea that's supposed to be, developed and in order, so to speak, and yet these things happen. I guess, we look at these things in South Korea as they would be looked at back home in the States or in Canada. If such things occur, when they're brought to the attention of the media, or when the media brings our attention to them, then people react in a certain way. Maybe I'll post this article in the chat section as well. Moving on to the next one, let's have a look. I was looking today, just flipping through. I was trying to find some resources in this regard, because it's right. So this is another article. Images of mother drinking while baby was dying spark fury. So this regards the two young parents who basically the mother was posting pictures of herself drinking. This case, this is child locked up in suitcase dies. This is from 2020, June 4th. It pertains a younger child, a 9-year-old boy found unconscious in a suitcase in Cheonan, South Chungcheong province, died Wednesday after 3 days in intensive care, police said Thursday. The child died from cardiopulmonary arrest due to multiple organ failures around 6:30 p.m. So the reason why I'm showing these things is just to show that the case of this 16-month-old baby dying is not an isolated incident, and it's something that happens on a regular. It happens quite consistently, I guess. I don't know how to put that. I found this gender statistics at a glance. I'll post this link in the chat as well if you're interested to look at it. I read through it and I was having a hard time understanding it. I'm not sure exactly what this means. If these are 9,000 So basically, it compares number of child abuse cases by sex from between 2006 and 2016. Red ones are girls, boys are blue. And the numbers have increased in 2012. They dropped a little bit in 2016. But overall, I mean, there are child abuse cases ongoing. So to move on from this horridness, I would like to I posted a bunch of links below the video that can help victims or people who are in charge of children. If you see any signs of abuse, you as the caregiver, if you're a teacher, if you're working in a kindergarten, or if any way you are considered as a caregiver, and the Korean law defines a caregiver as anybody who's entrusted with taking care of a child for any amount of time. So if a friend of yours leaves you with their kid for 5 minutes, you are that caregiver for that given time. And so it is your responsibility to look after that child for that particular period of time. That's talked about in the video that I posted below again on the YouTube channel. But I also posted a bunch of links with resources to help. KoreaForExpats.com has an excellent list of resources here. Emergency Support Center for Migrant Women, KSVRC, which is Korea. I don't remember what it is, but it's available, I guess, in a number of languages. Aja University Sexual Violence Counseling Center, Hanyang University Gender Inequality Center. So please check that out. That's from Korea for Expats. Another resource I found was the rape what is it? I don't want to butcher the name. It's for victims of rape who can contact the Seoul Crisis Intervention Center for Women and Children. This one's based in Seoul. Some of the services are based in Seoul, I guess, because Seoul is a big city and there's a lot more, half the population almost lives in South Korean population lives in Seoul, so there's a lot more people. She Will Survive is another link that I posted as well, and it also lists a number of resources here. Ambulance which is the 119, is your regular one. There's Women's Emergency Telephone, Korean Women's Hotline, Sex Trafficking Phone, Child Abuse Hotline, Sex Abuse Hotline concerning children. A number of telephone numbers listed as well to contact. The Canadian Refugee Board of Canada also lists here's Republic of Korea services available for victims of child abuse, including legislation and legal resources, the function of national child abuse, listed below the video. Here is the National Child Protection Agency, which I guess maybe I should have listed first, also listed below the video. And this we don't need. KFS, Korean American Family Service Center. Okay. So yeah, if you or anybody you know is in need, then please share this video. Hopefully the links below the video prove to be helpful. If they are too soul-centric, always keep in mind that your local community, or your local, if you're an expat, your local expat community should have some resources. A lot of the cities have groups, like in Ulsan, for example. I guess I remember just recently on the Ulsan Online, if you're based out of Ulsan, check out Ulsan Online. There's a lot of help. There's a lot of people who post things on a regular basis. I remember somebody posting just recently a link with this specific information for women who may have, for expat women who may be struggling with domestic abuse. So yeah, find out your what your local resources are. Get in touch with people, and again, like I said, if you know anybody who needs to watch this video, then please make sure to share it, and hopefully that helps a little bit. So yes, okay, I'm gonna end with this. I don't know, it feels like there's a lot of people are just too wrapped up in what's going on the internet. I find that the internet creates monsters in a way. People have become very disconnected from other humans, and it's very easy for people to lash out at complete strangers on the internet, right? It's very easy for them to lash out at complete strangers without knowing anything about the other people, and so I mean, it's no, people in nature are just disappointing, to put it very mildly. And so cases like this just really, for me personally, drive it home how disappointing humanity is. And it's sickening, really, to me personally, to see things like that happen. Stepping away from social media is something that I would really like to do. Unfortunately, I've tied myself to social media through the work that I do in our Hagwon, as well as on the Living Korea channel and the Korea podcast. And it's kind of something that I can't really avoid. And dealing with people and the strangeness of humanity itself is just a part of me right now. So I guess I wanted to leave this thought, starting with a new year. 2020 was not a great year, and so maybe keep that in mind. Leave it at that. Leave 2020 in the past and start the new year of 2021 in a way that you would like your life to be. Be kind, be good, do good by others, and good will come your way, so to speak. Pay it forward and all that good stuff. But just try to be kind to each other and good to each other. Stop being assholes on social media with random strangers, because you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what the circumstances are behind people's actions. And I think the last thing you should be doing because of that is lashing out at people randomly for the smallest thing on social media. Because the world is a bitter, brutal place as it is, and it's disgusting to see people behaving like complete jerks on social media. Okay. Right. Well, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you all for tuning in. If this is your first time visiting the Living Korea podcast, then make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the likes on the video. If you think that some of the resources here are useful, you can always Google them yourself. If you type in child abuse in South Korea, you will get a lot of resources. If you'd like to help out the channel, the Living Korea channel, the Korea podcast, then spread this video, share the video with other people. There's a lot of resources listed below the video. I try to find as many of the resources listed on Google as possible and jam them into one space here. So if you think that there's anybody who may benefit from these, then please share them, and otherwise do your own research and help others by just Googling it yourself. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thank you, Ashton. Thank you, Ashton, for tuning in. Everybody else, have a safe 2021. Let's stay vigilant. Keep your masks on, wash your hands and all that stuff. Let's stay healthy and stay kind to each other and hope for a better future. Take care. Have a good night.